listening to the Touch 'em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and on today's episode, we have UFC 322 from MSG in NYC for the undisputed UFC welterweight and flyweight championships of the world in the headliner and the co-headliner. First, in the co-main event of the evening, you have the definition of a women's super fight between the current 115-pound strawweight champion, well, in my mind, even though it is Mackenzie Dern now, but the former strawweight champion in Weili, moving up to 125 pounds to challenge Valentina Shevchenko, the Bullet, for her title. And then in the main event of the evening, you have one of the most anticipated fights of the year, the potential fight of the year for the welterweight championship of the world. You have Islam Makhachev moving up to 170 pounds, trying to claim double champ status, taking on the man who took out his teammate on short notice to become the welterweight champion in Jack Della Maddalena. JDM versus Makhachev, Weili versus Shevchenko, UFC 322. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right, everybody, we are back this week for UFC 322, Makhachev versus Maddalena, or Maddalena versus Makhachev. But we're going to get right into this week's card. No wasted time, no wasted movement. Let's start it off. First up in the women's strawweight division, you have a battle between Angela Overkill Hill taking on Fatima Kline. I got to go Kline here. I'm not going to sit here and waste your time with this pick. Angela Hill is the best, worst fighter in the UFC. She loses a lot of close split decisions. She wins some close split decisions. But when I look at this fight, man, I think Fatima Kline is the cleaner striker. I think she uses her length and reach very well. I think she's going to be able to throw kicks to the body and to the head of Angela Hill before Hill can come in and really commit. And another thing is I think Hill has just slowed down in her last few fights. I think she was on a little bit of a resurgence, but she seems to have just slowed down. I do expect this fight to be close, though. Angela Hill's the queen of not getting finished. She finally did get her first career finish. That was against Luana Pinheiro, where she got that sub. And, in this one, I really think that Fatima Kline is just better, sharper, cleaner, more cerebral, and she has less miles on the tank, right? Like, she has not been in as many close fights, has been in the UFC as long as Angela Hill, and does experience mean something? Yes, but when you have a 18-15 record, like, it's going to be close, but I still think Fatima Kline is going to be doing the better work. Would it shock me if Kline got a finish? No, it would not. But I'm not going to bank on a finish in women's MMA, and I'm not going to bank on a finish against a girl like Angela Hill, who usually is just losing split decisions or decisions in general. So I'm going to take Fatima Kline to win a 29-28 unanimous decision. I think she clearly wins. I think she can dominate on the ground. I think she can get her own wrestling off. I think the striking will be close, but I think the fighter who lands the more meaningful combinations, the fighter who lands the better kicks to the head and to the body is going to be Fatima Kline. So give me Fatima Kline to win 29-28 unanimous decision. All right, next fight up is in the featherweight division. You got a battle between Pat Sabatini taking on Chepe Mariscal. This is another one that I've given probably a little bit too much hate to a guy like Sabatini in his career. Like, I liked him in the beginning, but his chin is not really there. Augusto win, and he does the chicken dance. We've said that 100 times. That pretty much plays in and pays dividends right towards Pat Sabatini. Like, the guy, if you hit him, you can knock him out. Once you hurt him, it's very hard for him to recover, but he has really, really good grappling. He's very strong, very good takedowns, very good top pressure, and once he gets you on the ground, man, you're in trouble. I mean, this guy isn't just going to lay on top of you and not do anything. He's going to hunt for submissions, and I mean, he's beaten guys who are very dangerous in the likes of Joe Anderson Brito. Being able to survive against Brito for that long, take him down, get on top, take his back, out-wrestle him, outwork him. That's not something I was expecting, and I don't think that was something a lot of people were expecting. But the guy has great top control, great jiu-jitsu. He's very strong, and I do think he's going to be able to get Chepe down. I do think he's going to be able to wrestle him. I do think he's going to be able to get takedowns at certain points, but I like the scrappiness of Mariscal in a fight against a guy who's really only ever going to win by grappling and submissions. I think the more well-rounded fighter is Chepe, but, that's not really saying too much. I'm not tooting my own horn because I'm saying that. I think you can say that if you've seen both of these guys fight. He's very much the more well-rounded fighter. He throws more volume. He puts more combinations out there. He can go for his own wrestling. He's got good throws. I'm afraid if he goes for the head and arm, that maybe he gives up he gets the takedown, but then Sabatini's able to scramble and put the hooks in and take his back. But this is a fight that I think Chepe should win. Like, he's going to have the better volume. He's going to have the better output. He's going to have the more meaningful shots. He's going to be the more active fighter. And I think Sabatini will get a couple takedowns, but I don't think he submits Mariscal, and I don't think he's going to be able to control Mariscal for at least 2 rounds. And I think when we get into the later rounds, I think that's where Chepe can take over. But, if you're not finishing guys like Damon Jackson, if you're not finishing guys like Ricardo Ramos, I don't know if I can bank on you to get a finish, right? Like, you're already coming in as the underdog. I don't agree with that. I think he has more ways to win, more weapons to win. But can I sit here and confidently tell you he's going to get a finish? No, because a lot of the times he's fighting to win. He's not fighting to make a statement. And that's not anything really against Chepe, but I think you can kind of take it that way, because he could have finished Damon Jackson, and he could have also finished Ricardo Ramos, and he just didn't. He fought, he beat him up, took him down, overwhelmed him, but he just didn't finish him. And sometimes he can get hit with some big shots on the way in, being a little bit reckless. I don't want him to get too overconfident and too overzealous, because if he goes for a bad head and arm throw, and maybe Sabatini's able to scramble and put his hooks in and take his back, if he's able to get on the top position, if he's able to get his own takedowns, it would not shock me if Sabatini won this fight. But I don't think he's going to be able to control him for at least 2 rounds. And I don't really see him subbing Mariscal. I think Mariscal's too well-rounded and too patient to panic and get caught in a submission. But if anybody could do it, it probably is a guy like Sabatini, but I don't think he is. I'm going to take the knockout for Mariscal. I'm going to take Chepe Mariscal to win 2nd round TKO, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just won a dominant decision, where maybe it was 2 rounds to 1, but the 2 rounds were clear for Chepe, doing more damage, outlanding Pat Sabatini. But the chin of Sabatini can go at any time, so would it shock me if Mariscal knocked him out with an elbow or caught him with a right hand or a spinning back fist? No, not at all. I'm going to take Mariscal by KO. Give me Chepe Mariscal round 2 TKO over Pat Sabatini. This is a good fight. I think there is a little bit of disrespect on Sabatini, even though he is the favorite. But I do think Mariscal has enough weapons to beat him and probably finish him. So give me Chepe round 2 TKO here. All right, next fight up is in the middleweight division. You got a battle between Kyle Daukaus taking on Gerald GM3 Meerschaert. Yeah, man, I'm a big Daukaus fan. And I guess you could go against me by saying, well, you picked Michel Pereira to beat him. Yeah, that was a bad pick. And I did bet Daukaus, even though I picked Michel Pereira. But at the same time, man, like, I knew he had the opportunity to win that fight. I knew Daukaus was coming in to prove a point. And I knew that Michel Pereira had taken so much damage against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, and he never was the same. I do think that played into the knockout that Daukaus had, but I wasn't expecting a KO, and I wasn't expecting a KO that early. I think Daukaus came in with a point to prove, and he landed that big shot, put down Pereira with that check hook as he circled off, jumped on him, and finished him off with elbows. He didn't take any damage. He's coming in here against GM3. Daukaus is known as a grappler. He's known as a submission artist, but his striking is getting better. He did technically submit Kevin Holland, but it was a no contest because there was a headbutt, and he jumped on it, took his back, submitted him. But with this fight, Gerald Meerschaert is a guy where he might drop Meerschaert like 3 or 4 times, but I would not recommend following him to the ground. Like, have we seen Meerschaert get submitted? Yeah, but it was by one of the best grapplers in the UFC, one of the best grapplers in the division, in Reinier de Ritter, so you can't really hold that against him. But with this one, I think Daukaus is the much cleaner striker on the feet. I think he has much more power on the feet. I think he has much more of a point to prove at this point in his UFC career. I think he's coming in here to make a statement that it was a mistake that the UFC let him go the first time. And I think Daukaus is going to knock out GM3. I think even if he doesn't knock him out, he could rock him and then go for a submission and potentially sub him. But I feel like Daukaus might not want to do that. He might want to just stay on the feet and strike with him. I think he has enough power to knock out GM3. I think he's more technical. He's cleaner on the feet than GM3, and he has better movement. I mean, we know GM3 isn't comfortable on the feet. He can land some good left hands, like we've seen him land good straight left hands. He's got a good switch kick to the body and the left kick to the body from southpaw. That was kind of his kick when he first burst onto the scene in the UFC. He's been training with the likes of Belal Muhammad and a bunch of other people, like training with high-level partners, but at the same time, I just think this is Daukaus' time, right? Like, this is his time to make a statement. This is his time to make a statement in New York, being from Philly. I got to go Daukaus, and I got to go Daukaus by finish. I think it could be a sub because I think he could rock GM3, jump on his back, and get a rear naked choke. I think it could be a knockout. I'm going to go Kyle Daukaus by first round KO. I think he's going to put GM3 in a bag. I think he's going to hit him, hurt him, and GM3's not going to be able to recover. A lot of the times when GM3 recovers, he's falling to his back. He's trying to play jiu-jitsu in an MMA fight, and it works sometimes, and that's why he's been able to pull so many victories from the jaws of defeat, but I don't think it's going to work here against Daukaus. I think this is a new and improved Daukaus. I think this is a Daukaus who has developed the striking, who has more power in his hands and in his boxing technique now than when he left the UFC, and if you can chin Michel Pereira like that, you can chin a guy like GM3. So give me Kyle Daukaus first round KO over Gerald GM3 Meerschaert. I think he puts him down, and I think he knocks him out. I got to go Daukaus. I'm a big fan of Daukaus, and he's going to get the finish here. Kyle Daukaus, round 1 knockout over Gerald Meerschaert. Right, up next, you got a battle in the bantamweight division between Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Cody Haddon. This is a great fight, good matchmaking. Both guys coming off the Contender Series, both guys coming off the same season of the Contender Series as well. And let me tell you, man, Haddon is not a pushover. You know, it opened up, I think Wellmaker was the underdog. The money now has come over to the Wellmaker side, and it makes sense, but we'll get to it later. But let's talk about Haddon. This kid's good, man. We picked him against Dan Argueta in his UFC debut. I mean, he made it close at certain points, but his takedown defense looked good. His get-up game looked good. His ability to take the back of Argueta and look to hunt for submissions. I mean, went to hunt for the rear naked choke, almost got it, scrambled up to his feet. He has good timing on his uppercuts and knees, especially against a wrestler like Argueta. He was timing that level change with knees up the middle, uppercuts, and ripping really solid shots to the body. I think that's one of the most underrated portions of Haddon's game is his body work. On the Contender Series, he beat a guy in Billy Brand. Billy Brand was a guy I picked to win on the Contender Series. He's a guy who went back and forth with Peyton Talbot before Talbot got into the UFC, and Haddon was able to catch him with a right hand to the body and a left hook to the head, drop him, jump on him, beat him up with ground and pound, and then submit him with a rear naked choke. Looked good and did all that in the first round. Like, Haddon is no pushover. I think Haddon has a big advantage on the ground. I think he has a big advantage with his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and if he takes Malcolm Wellmaker to the floor, things could get very, very interesting and very tricky for a guy like Wellmaker. But the one thing I like about Wellmaker is the fact that he is so patient. He's calculated. He uses good range and distance control, and I think that's what is going to get him the knockout here against Haddon. So, newsflash, going into this fight, I was thinking Haddon was going to win. Watching the tape, watching it back, thinking about how the fight's probably going to play out, I can't see a world where Wellmaker doesn't land on the chin of Haddon and knock him out. So I think Wellmaker's going to get the KO, and, you know, I think Haddon was more reckless against Argueta because he knew that he could be. He knew that Argueta's striking wasn't all there. He knew that he could open up and overcommit on some shots because Argueta really only had a chance to win if he caught him with a lucky shot or if he wrestled. So he was more relentless and kind of reckless with his striking attempts. Big left hooks, big right hands, big uppercuts, and he left his head on the center line. But he does have good head movement. We saw it on the Contender Series. He has a good high guard. I think he's going to have to use the high guard, but for the most part, you got to make sure you're playing with the distance and the range against Wellmaker as well. You're going to need to set up with a lot of feints. I would use some kick feints, some knee feints, some hand feints, a little shake step to the right or left to set up your punches. Don't just stand there and try to trade with Wellmaker in the center or trade with Wellmaker in the pocket, because you will get knocked out. Wellmaker, I don't think his defense is the best either, but he has really good eyes and he tends to see things coming, and he eventually just sets the trap for you to walk into. I mean, just look at it against Chris Moutinho. Big body kick, switch stance, boom, set him down with the right hook. Like, this guy knows what to throw, how to throw it, and when to throw it. And that's what makes him so dangerous. Do I think he's going to be a title challenger or a contender? I don't know. But I do think Haddon is a tough fight, right? And if Haddon can get in close, if he can land some successive body shots, change levels, and get takedowns, I think he will have a big advantage against Malcolm Wellmaker on the floor. I think his top game, his ability to take the back, to set up the chokes, to flatten you out, I think he could maybe potentially expose Malcolm Wellmaker on the ground. But I just don't think we're going to get that far, because I feel like Haddon is going to be reckless and leave too many openings for a guy with as much power and as good, I wouldn't just say it's his power, right? It's his decision-making. I like the decision-making of Wellmaker, and I think that's what's going to open up the knockout against Cody Haddon. So I'm going to take Wellmaker to win. I'm going to say he wins by a second-round knockout. I feel like he's going to play it smart, play it safe, find his openings. I think Haddon will have some success with body shots. I think he can change levels and use that knee up the middle. He's going to have to use a lot of hand and leg feints and movement to try to draw out shots from his opponent. I think he's going to do that. I think he'll make it competitive early, but eventually I just think one of those big hooks from Wellmaker is going to creep right around the guard, and it's going to put Haddon down, and he won't be able to recover. So give me Malcolm Wellmaker. I'm going to take Malcolm Wellmaker, the machine, to win via second-round knockout in this fight. Up next is a battle in the women's flyweight division. You have a fight between Erin Blanchfield taking on Tracy Cortez. Yeah, guys, like, realistically, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this breakdown, because I think Blanchfield wins, and I think she wins by decision. I think this fight is close. I think Cortez has decent striking. It's not the best. And I feel like Blanchfield, with her forward pressure, her forward movement, and her ability to get some shots off on the feet, I feel like she can strike with Cortez. Like, I know she got exposed by Manon Fiorot, but that's just a different level. I think the striking on the feet between the two will be competitive. Cortez has a decent jab. Her 1-2 is okay. She switches stances. She uses a lot of hand fakes. But the majority of her success comes from her wrestling, her top control, her takedowns, her ability to hold girls down, look to set up submissions, land good ground and pound. And she's looked good doing that in certain fights. I don't think she's going to be able to do that to Blanchfield. Blanchfield's a great grappler, great wrestling, good top game, good setup with submissions. And realistically, I think this fight is going to be close, but I think it's going to be Blanchfield who has the more meaningful exchanges on the mat, and that's what's going to win her this fight. I think this has a split decision written all over it. I don't think it's going to be dominant one which way. But I do think that Cortez is going to be competitive on the feet, because I think Blanchfield looks good against certain girls. She'll look okay on the feet here, but I think she's going to be able to land some shots of her own. They both fought Rose Namajunas. Cortez basically got dominated. I mean, did she have some success? A little bit, but I mean, mainly got dominated, got the eyelashes punched right off her face. And I think we're going to see an improved Cortez here. But I still think Blanchfield is going to have enough in her back pocket to win this fight. I think she's going to get takedowns at the end of rounds to seal it. And on the feet, I think she's going to land more volume and probably land the more meaningful shots in the striking exchanges. I think Cortez could win. If Cortez wins, I think it's like a greasy split decision. But I think Blanchfield lands the more meaningful shots on the feet, gets takedowns at the end of rounds, and gets some control time. That's going to win her at least 2 rounds. I don't think she's going to win all 3. I think Cortez will land some good combinations of her own. I think Cortez might get a reversal here and there and end up on top. I think they're both going to threaten with submissions, but they're both going to scramble out. And we're going to see a lot of high-level grappling here. But the person who I believe is going to have the more meaningful grappling grappling wins, the more meaningful positional wins, the more meaningful shots on the feet is going to be Erin Blanchfield. So give me Erin Blanchfield to win. I'm going to take her via 29-28 unanimous decision. I think she wins 2 out of the 3 rounds by just having the more meaningful moments in the fight. It's going to be close. It'll be competitive on the feet. It might turn into a complete striking match. And even there, I think Blanchfield can just outland Cortez and do more work over 15 minutes. So give me Blanchfield, 29-28 unanimous decision, winning 2 out of the 3 rounds. All right, up next, we got a battle in the middleweight division between Roman Kopylov taking on Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues. Yeah, this is another one that's a tricky fight to call. I think both of these guys are dangerous on the feet. I think the more well-rounded fighter between the two is actually Gregory Rodrigues, because we've seen if he's having trouble on the feet, if he's having trouble with his striking, he can easily go to the grappling, he can easily get the takedowns, he can start to land some ground and pound, and he will even look to set up submissions. And I really think that the grappling of RoboCop Rodrigues is going to actually set up him having more success in the striking. I think Kopylov is much faster. I think he's more explosive. I think he has more fast twitch muscle fibers than Rodrigues, but I think Rodrigues just has that forward pressure, the threat of the takedown, the threat of the wrestling, and the ability to kind of dominate Kopylov on the ground, I think. Like that's really what I think here, and I think we've seen in the career of Kopylov, he does very well when he's able to control fights, when he's able to control the distance, control the range, get respect from his opponents, and keep them on the outside while he's able to dance around and land his shots, right? Like a feint kick to the body, feint kick to the head, double switch kick to the body, 1-2 down the middle. Like, I think he's explosive enough to knock out Gregory Rodrigues. Like, if he lands that left kick on his head, wouldn't surprise me. If he sits him down with a body shot, that would surprise me a little bit, because I don't really see RoboCop being a guy to go down from a body shot. But those liver kicks, man, I mean, one good liver kick, and you can set the whole world on fire with a big shot to the body. So I think Kopylov is live for a KO. Rodrigues is a little bit chinny. He does take a lot of damage, but I think we saw in his last fight, he's a little bit more measured. He plays a little bit more of a measured approach. And I mean, he cracked Jack Hermanson with that big left hook, a guy we don't really see ever get knocked out with one punch, and he got slept with one punch, a little right uppercut to a big left hook and knocked him out. But that was based on the forward pressure. That was based on the ability for Rodrigues to put himself on the front foot whilst putting his opponent on the back foot. I think Kopylov is good off the back foot, but with too much pressure, he starts to overcommit on his strikes. He starts to throw strikes that he doesn't want to throw, and sometimes that can leave him open to getting countered himself. I think this fight is basically a coin flip, but I do think the fighter who's more well-rounded is Rodrigues. I think the fighter who can look for takedowns and wrestling is Rodrigues. I think the fighter who can pretty much dominate on the ground is also Gregory Rodrigues. I think the fighter who's better going forward with forward pressure is Rodrigues. I think the fighter who does better going forward is Rodrigues, and I think Kopylov has issues with pressure and fighting off that back foot. So I'm going to take Gregory Rodrigues because I think he has more ways to win. But realistically, I could see this fight going to a decision. I could see Rodrigues winning by sub. I could see Kopylov landing a big body kick or a big shot on Rodrigues as he's pressuring and knocking him out. I could see this fight going any which way, but in fights that I think could go any way possible, I'm going to go with the guy who I think has more ways to win and more weapons, and that's Gregory Rodrigues. So give me Gregory Rodrigues to win. I'm going to say he actually wins by submission. I know, a little bit crazy, right? But that's what I'm going to go with. Give me Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues to use his wrestling, use that top control, use his takedowns, and eventually set up an arm triangle choke submission and finish the fight. Give me Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues to win, second round arm triangle choke submission victory. All right, next fight up is in the middleweight division. You got a battle between Bo Nickal taking on Rodolfo Vieira. This is the first fight back for Bo Nickal after he lost to Reinier de Ridder. He got TKO'd, got finished, got exposed a little bit there, right? But Rodolfo Vieira and RDR, just a different type of fighter in my opinion. I think Vieira's striking has gotten better. He's been more comfortable striking on the feet. He's got a good jab, a good 1-2, and like I think he does have good enough striking to maybe clip Bo Nickal with a shot, because we know Nickal doesn't like to get hit. But I also think this is a fight that's basically set up for Bo Nickal to look good in. Like, this is a fight that's set up for Bo Nickal to get a finish in MSG, for them to kind of completely overwrite the RDR loss and just, Bo Nickal, he's back, and he's back with a vengeance, and what a finish by Bo Nickal, future title contender, blah, 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 blah. Nickal's never sniffing a middleweight title, so please, just shut the fuck up with that. But with this fight is made for Bo Nickal to get a finish and for Bo Nickal to look good. But he wasn't able to finish Paul Craig. So, I mean, is it guaranteed he's going to get a finish? No. But I think he can outstrike, RDR. I think he can outstrike Vieira on the feet. I think he can change levels, come over the top with the overhand. Typical wrestler shit. Walk forward, fake, feint the level change, overhand right, feint the level change, uppercut, feint the level change, cross head kick. Like, I think all those things can work. I think Nickal has more power than Rodolfo Vieira, and he has better wrestling. We've seen Vieira do bad against guys he can't take down. I don't expect him to take down Bo Nickal. I don't expect him to get a sub on Bo Nickal. That's kind of his only way to win, though, is to get a submission on Nickal. But I think Nickal's smart enough to, even if he does take him down, have enough hip pressure and top control to just slow down Vieira and beat him up. Maybe he gets a rear naked choke. Like, I think Nickal could beat him up with ground and pound, beat him up from half guard and then set up a submission. But I'm going to take Bo Nickal to win. I think he should get through this fight. I think he should look impressive. I think he should get a finish here. Like, that's what should happen. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but he should finish a guy like Rodolfo Vieira. Like I said, Vieira's been getting better. He looked good against Tresean Gore. He won that fight. I didn't expect him to win it. He was able to strike with Gore, land some good shots on him. He's got a good jab. That's probably the best punch of Vieira's entire striking acumen. He's got a good 1-2. But I think Nickal, just with the wrestling threat, the feints, the speed, I think he's going to just clip Vieira with a shot. I think he's going to take him down, and I think he's going to ground and pound him to get a TKO finish. So give me Bo Nickal. I'm going to take Bo Nickal to win round 1, ground and pound TKO over Rodolfo Vieira. Like I said, this is a fight that I think is just to get Bo Nickal a win, get him a win in MSG, and make people kind of forget the RDR loss, even though I still can't believe RDR lost to Brendan Allen. I really can't. Something was definitely wrong with him there, but either way, it doesn't matter. Give me Bo Nickal to win round 1 TKO finish over Rodolfo Vieira. All right, next fight up is in the lightweight division. You got a battle between Benny Dariush taking on the God of War, Benoit Saint Denis. Let me just tell you guys a little story and give you guys a little warning. Whatever I say on this fight, pick the opposite and you'll probably be right. I'm not afraid to say it. I cannot pick a Benoit Saint Denis fight to save my life. If they were holding me over of the end of a bridge and they said, pick who's going to win this fight with Benoit Saint Denis versus whoever, if I picked against him, he'd win, and he'd win by finish. If I picked him, he'd get absolutely demolished and finished himself. So, I don't even want to make a pick on this fight. I am self-aware enough to know that I cannot pick a Benoit Saint Denis fight to save my life. I can't. But this is a good one, right? This is a good one. Benil Dariush coming off the win over Moicano. Moicano beat the shit out of Benoit Saint Denis. Beat him up on the ground, bloodied him, elbowed his face into oblivion. Benil Dariush stopped a lot of the takedowns, got on top, beat up Renato Moicano, hurt him with a shot on the feet. He got dropped himself. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Who am I a bigger fan of? Benil Dariush. He should have good enough wrestling and scrambles to avoid the wrestling of Benoit Saint Denis. He should have better kicks than Benoit Saint Denis, but I worry about the chin of Benny Dariush. I've worried about it for a long time in his career, but there's certain fights where you can pick him. There's certain fights where you can't. If you remember, the last time we saw BSD in MSG, he won, I believe. Is that when he knocked out Frivola with a big head kick or something? Hold on. Benoit Saint Denis. Benoit Saint Denis. MSG. So, yeah, that's when he knocked out Let me see. That's when he knocked out Frevola, right? Yeah, so Frevola, he knocked him out. He lost to Dustin Poirier. That was in March. So, yeah, I mean, the last time he was in MSG, he won, and he won by devastating knockout in the first round. Guys, I don't know. I think Benoit has more power, but he's not as technical as Dariush on the feet. I think Dariush has better scrambles. He could probably out-wrestle and out-scramble a guy like Benoit Saint Denis. I think Saint Denis is nowhere near but good enough technically to beat a guy like Beneil Dariush. You know, Dariush coming off the win over Moicano. Benoit Saint Denis got dominated and eventually TKO'd in between rounds, doctor stoppage to Moicano. So everything points to the fact that Beneil Dariush should win this fight. But something's telling me that Benoit Saint Denis is just going to land something. A big elbow or a big head kick, and there he's going to knock out Dariush. So that's what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Benoit Saint Denis to win by knockout. But just because I said that, Dariush is going to land a huge overhand and knock him out and finish him in 30 seconds. Like I said, don't listen to me on this fight. None of these picks are financial or betting advice, but please, for the love of God, don't listen to me when it comes to breaking down fights on the God of War, because I just don't get them right. I never do. But for this one, I'm going to take Benoit Saint Denis to win. I'm going to take him to win by knockout in the first round against Beneil Dariush, but I'm probably wrong. But the pick is going to be Benoit Saint Denis to land a big overhand or something crazy in an exchange, clip the chin of Dariush and knock him out. So give me Benoit Saint Denis, round 1 KO. But again, don't listen to me. And let's go to the next one. All right, next fight up is in the welterweight division. You got a battle between Leon Rocky Edwards taking on Carlos the Nightmare Prates. Guys, listen. I was one of the biggest Leon Edwards fans that there is. I couldn't have picked against Leon Edwards if you made me pick against him. I picked him in both Kamaru Usman fights. We were right. I picked him against Nate Diaz. We were right. I picked him, I don't even know, like off the top of my head. I picked him to beat Bilal. It didn't happen. He got dominated. Didn't really have anything for Bilal except until the 5th round. I picked Sean Brady to beat Leon. Brady beat his ass. Took him down over and over and over and over and over again. And then eventually subbed him in the 4th round, which we predicted, by the way. I just don't think Leon can handle adversity anymore. I don't think the knockout against Kamaru the first time, well, the second fight that they had, but the first time for the title was a fluke because he set it up. So you can't call it a fluke. He set up the head kick. It landed. Kamaru leaned right into it. Boom, knocked him out. He made a good decision. But I don't think he's going to beat Prates, man. I think Prates is going to get a violent knockout in this fight. I just got to be honest with you guys. I think that Leon is going to get the fight that he wants, but he's getting the fight he wants against a guy he doesn't want that type of fight against. Like, Leon has good timing. He's got a good left hand. He's got good counter elbows. He's good in the clinch. I think he can do some good work in the clinch, knees to the body, elbows over the top with frames. Again, good left body kick. He's got a good left head kick if he can land it on Prates. I wouldn't be surprised. I think he can chop his legs with some leg kicks and move around, but I think Prates is going to put that pressure on Leon. I think he's going to draw out a lot of shots, and he's going to start to land. He's going to move back, counter hook left hand, moving around, teep kick to the body, cross hook, move around, jab, upward elbow. And I think he's going to just start to land on Leon. And once Leon tastes that power of Prates, I think he's going to start to get into that defensive shell. The same defensive shell that we see when he goes up against grapplers is the defensive shell we're going to see when Prates starts to hit him. He's going to start to cower away. He's going to start to get into his shell and try to land big counters. But it's not going to be well thought out counters. It's going to be like desperate counters, a big overhand, a big elbow, a big head kick, and I think Prates is just going to start to walk him down. And he's going to walk him down, pop the jab. He's going to walk him down, 1-2 down the middle, walk him down. Knees to the body, elbow over the top. And he's going to hurt Leon. He's going to rock him, and he's going to set the trap. And he's going to pop the jab. boom, 1-2 down the middle. Right hook, check hook. And I think he's going to land that left hand right on the chin of Leon Edwards. And I think he's going to knock him out in the second round. I want to say first round, but I think Leon's good enough to survive, and maybe the first round will be kind of a feeling out process, but Prates will start to turn up the pressure and the pace the longer the fight goes. This is a southpaw versus southpaw, so those outside foot angles aren't going to be there. The check hook isn't going to be as effective, but the straight punches will, and I think Prates can eat him alive even with straight punches. So I'm going to say Carlos Prates gets a violent knockout over Leon Edwards in the second round. I think he's going to draw him in and boom, counter with that left hand right down the middle and knock Leon Edwards out cold. So give me the nightmare. Give me Carlos Prates. Give me Prates to win. Second round knockout over Leon Edwards. Eventually just timing him, starting to land more shots on him and banging him with that left hand and putting him to sleep. Carlos the Nightmare Prates to win. Round 2 knockout in MSG. All right, now we're at the featured bout of the evening in the welterweight division. This was a late addition to UFC 322 between Sean Brady taking on the up-and-coming undefeated at 18-0 Michael Morales, coming off a knockout victory over Gilbert Durinho Burns, while Sean Brady is coming off of a fourth-round mounted guillotine choke submission over Leon Rocky Edwards. Guys, I gotta be honest with you. I have no clue. I really don't. I think Brady's a guy who doesn't like to get hit. We've seen that in different fights before, but we don't see it often because he's able to just get his grappling off, or he's able to kind of outstrike people at this point. Like, he doesn't like to get hit, but I feel like his striking is better. It's getting better. He's using his jab better, his 1-2 better. But when punches come back at him, that's when he kind of cowers away. And no, I'm not calling him a coward. I mean, like, he backpedals and moves away, and it just doesn't seem like a natural movement. I mean, obviously, when you're getting hit, sometimes you're going to back up, and it's not going to look the best. But Brady almost looks like he's, like, overcommitting and overreacting to punches. And that's what I still think might be an issue. I think he's better at hiding it now and better at getting his game off now. But it's still, like, a worry, man. And against a kid like Morales, I mean, obviously, this is the biggest test of his career. But, Morales knocked out Gilbert Burns in the first round. Brady went to a decision but dominated, won every round. It's a weird fight because I think if Morales doesn't knock him out in the first round, I think Brady wins. But I think there's a huge chance that Morales just clips him with an overhand right or an uppercut or a big shot, a big looping hook, and just puts it on Brady and doesn't allow him to recover. Kind of like Belal did when Belal finished him. I mean, we know the only professional loss of Sean Brady's career is to the former welterweight champion in Belal Muhammad. And he got outboxed, struck on the feet. I think the fight would go different now if we were to look at that fight taking place at this point. I think it would be much more competitive. I think Brady might do a lot better, but you never know. And, I think Morales is the guy who carries power in the first round. He comes out hot. He looks to finish you, but he has been taken down. I mean, the guy got taken down by Adam Fugit, and, he didn't get controlled or, subs attempted on him, but he did get taken down and held down for at least a few seconds. And, if you're getting taken down by Fugit, I know that was early Morales, but, it's a little worrisome. But when you look on paper, he's got a 90% takedown defense rate, but I mean, who's really going to take him down? Gilbert Burns a decent wrestler, but mainly just looked to strike for the majority of the fight. And, this is the biggest test of Morales' career by a mile, but this is one of the most dangerous fights that Sean Brady could take in his entire career. So it's very hard to come up with a winner because I think on one hand, you could see Morales just come out here and steamroll Sean Brady, knock him out in the first round. Or you could see Brady get a takedown, hold him down in round 1, get a takedown in round 2, wear him out, and eventually just ground and pound or sub him. I think Brady wins with ground and pound or a submission. I think Morales wins by a knockout on the feet. It's just which one do you think is more likely? Every time these guys take these fights that they're not supposed to take the fights that they shouldn't be taking, most of the time that does kind of bite guys in the ass. So you really got to think on this one. I don't think Brady's ever fought a striker with the power of Michael Morales. Also, the technicality. I don't think he's the most technical, but he's not like just a brawler. He does kind of pick his shots pretty good. And I don't think Morales has fought a fighter with the takedowns, wrestling, and top control of a Sean Brady. So I think this one is close. I think it's a very dangerous fight. I think it's much more dangerous for Brady than it is for Morales looking at this one because, Morales has concussive power. I mean, big left hook, big right hand. Even shots that don't look the cleanest, I mean, they're clipping people and knocking them down, sending them flying backwards. And, I think Brady is the type of guy where he might get hit one or two good times and, he might just not be able to recover. And that's what I'm worried about. I think it's only going to take one or two shots from Morales to really land, to really put Brady and get her on Queer Street and get him out of there. But, yeah, guys, I really don't want to pick this fight. I think it's very close. I think it's 50-50. I think it's a coin flip. But, I mean, if I have to make a pick, let's look at the stats here. I mean, grappling stats, 89% takedown defense. Oh, man, I don't know. I really don't. This is probably one of the hardest fights on the card to predict. I'm going to take Sean Brady. I'm going to take Brady. I think he's going to get the takedowns. I think he's going to slow down Morales. And I think he's going to submit him in the third round. Yeah, man, this is tough. I think he subs Michael Morales. So give me Sean Brady. Not super confident, but give me Brady to implement his wrestling, survive the early storm, get takedowns, control Michael Morales on the floor, get to the mount, beat him up with ground and pound, and eventually set up an arm triangle choke for the finish. So give me Sean Brady, round 3, arm triangle choke submission over Michael Morales, handing him his first professional loss in mixed martial arts. Yeah, man, I'm going to go Brady, but it's very, very slight, and it's not the most confident because I could see Morales blasting him in the first round and knocking him out. But the pick is Brady. Brady by third round, arm triangle choke submission. And now we're at the co-main event of the evening in the women's flyweight division for the Women's Flyweight Championship of the World. You have the former strawweight champion who vacated her title to move up in Weili taking on the champion in Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko. Another one that's really fucking hard to predict. This is pretty much 50-50, man. I think Morales and Brady in this fight is pretty much 50-50. So I think when we look at it, people kind of overestimate the grappling acumen of Weili. I think she's a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong. I think she has good takedowns. I think she's great from the top. I think she can get you in the crucifix. She can get on top of you. She can set up submissions. And she can kind of bully you when she gets on top. But I don't think she has the best defensive wrestling. And I kind of think Valentina is going to have the game plan of using a lot of takedowns and top control and looking to secure takedowns to secure rounds on the scorecards. I think she has better wrestling than Weili. I think Weili is stronger, but I think Valentina might be a little faster with her kicks to the leg, to the body. I think the better boxer is Weili, but I think she makes some mistakes that a girl who's as technical as Valentina might be able to take advantage of. But I also think that Valentina is slowing down at this point in her career. I mean, she did beat Manon Fiorot, and look how good Manon just looked against my girl, Jasmine Jasdovicius. Not happy. I fucking hate Manon Fiorot. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I've never been a fan of her. I don't think I ever will be. But, Valentina clearly won that fight to me. I think it was a split decision at the end of it, but I mean, she clearly won, got takedowns, kind of outstruck her at certain points. I think Valentina is just better than Weili, but she's also getting older, man. Like, she's shown some mortality more in her recent fights. She's shown some vulnerability. She lost to Grasso, then lost to her, draw, but technically lost to her again. Then beat her, then comes back, beats Manon Fiorot, but it's closer than it needs to be, but we know Valentina won. I think Zhang Weili might be a little too small for 125. Like, I think she's tough and she's strong, don't get me wrong, but I feel like she's a little bit small for this division. 5'4", 5'5", okay, 67-inch to 63-inch reach. The 4-inch reach advantage, I think, is going to help in terms of the kicking game of Valentina and kind of catching Zhang Weili coming in. But again, this is a fight that I think is close, and I think the fighter who hits harder is Zhang Weili. But I also don't think Zhang Weili is the most durable. I just don't think she's been cracked enough to really, show her vulnerability. She got taken down a bunch by Rose Namajunas, who I believe is one of the best in the division. Taken down multiple times, actually, against Rose, and then outstruck in the second fight, and then in the first fight gets knocked out with a head kick. I think that if I have to make a pick here, I'm going to take the champion in Valentina. I'm going to take her to win, probably by a decision, because I think she could finish Zhang Weili. She's got a good counter check hook. She's got solid kicks to the leg. She could easily take one of those to up to the head. I don't see Zhang Weili knocking out Valentina, and I don't see her out grappling her for long enough to win the fight on the scorecard. So I'm going to say it's a close fight. I think both women hurt each other at certain points. Both women get takedowns. Both women reverse each other. I think this is going to be a technical chess match. It might not be the most exciting fight, but I think it's going to go all 5. And I think at the end of it, we're going to get a 48-47 unanimous decision for Valentina Shevchenko. I think she wins 3 out of the 5 rounds. Don't get me wrong. I think Zhang Weili can definitely win. I think that she has more power than Valentina. Like I said, I think she's very strong. She's probably one of the strongest girls that Valentina has fought. But again, this is Zhang Weili moving up. I think Manon Fiorot's pretty strong, and she was able to get her down and kind of, out-grapple her for a couple of the rounds in their fight. So I think Manon's a little bit harder to take down than Zhang Weili. So I'm going to say Valentina puts on those wrestling shoes, lands some kicks from distance, like some kicks to the body, some switch kicks to the head. And I think she gets takedowns and she wins 3 out of the 5 rounds. I think Valentina gets taken down a couple times as well. I think Zhang Weili's going to land some good shots coming in. She's probably going to catch her with some good counters. But I think the faster fighter overall and the more technical fighter who's going to have the better game plan is going to be the champion of Valentina. So give me Valentina Shevchenko to win and still your UFC Women's Flyweight Champion. I think she wins 48-47 unanimous decision, 3 rounds to 2, using her grappling to secure at least 2 of those rounds, and then winning a close round on the feet and winning with the striking. So, yeah, give me Valentina 48-47 unanimous decision and still your UFC Women's Flyweight Champion. But close fight, very close. And now we're at the main event of the evening for the UFC Welterweight Championship of the world. You have the champion in Jack Della Maddalena making his first title defense against the former UFC undisputed lightweight champion who vacated his title to move up to 170 pounds in Islam Makhachev. So JDM versus Islam is one of the best fights of the year, okay? And we all know this. I'm sure there's some casuals who will comment and say some bullshit about, oh, it's not this, it's not that, blah, 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 blah. This is nothing. Islam smash 1 round. Islam smash 1 round. But no, this is a great fight, and this is a lot tougher of a fight for Islam Makhachev than most people are giving JDM credit for. The same people who are dick riding Makhachev are the same people who were dick riding Bilal going into their fight as well. It's nothing new. Everybody loves these Dagestanis. Everybody loves to suck them off. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Islam is one of the best fighters in the world. He's one of the best fighters to ever step foot in the octagon. I'm not taking the credit away from him. But moving up to 170 because you want to avoid Ilia Topuria, I don't think it's going to go well for him. I don't. But let's forget about all the intangibles and things like that. Let's just look at it from a stylistic perspective. So I do think Islam has improved his striking. But the last fight that Makhachev won was against Dustin Poirier, where it was 2-2 going into the 5th round. He did what he needed to do, got that beautiful little ankle pick, sweep, takedown, caught him in the front headlock and locked up the Darce. He fights Moicano on short notice when it was supposed to be Sarukian pulled out. You know, he took him down, subbed him in the 1st round. That's not a real fight. That's not a real title defense. The win against Poirier was good, but, I mean, so many people were discrediting Dustin Poirier going into that fight, saying that Islam was going to run through him, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. He's going to kill him. I'm sorry, but how did that fight go? How did it go? Because don't get me wrong, Islam landed some good shots on the feet. His striking looked good. He landed a good 1-2, caught him coming in. You know, he was able to stand and strike with Poirier for a long time, but Poirier got taken down, got back up. You know, he's fought Khabib, he's fought Islam, and he looked good in that fight. He cut Islam and things like that, but, you know, I think he's underestimating the strength that JDM is going to have at 170. He doesn't look like that big of a guy, but he's very strong, and I think Islam is going to be strong at 170, but I don't think he's going to be stronger than Jack, okay? I think it's going to be harder for him to hold him down. Do I think Islam's going to take Jack down? Yes. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not stupid. I'm not in denial. I think he'll get takedowns, okay? I think Jack will get taken down. I think he will get put on his back. I think he will get controlled. But I do think he's going to get back up. The one reason I like Jack so much, and I talked about it in the breakdown of the Belal fight, is that you cannot tell this guy that he's losing no matter how bad he's losing. He's always going to try to come back and win. And that's how you got to beat a guy like Islam. Because Islam does better when fighters cower and fall back to the pressure. Islam does better when fighters are afraid to fight him back. When Volkanovski came in on a full camp, he arguably beat Makhachev. He got taken down. He got hurt with some shots on the feet. But he got a few takedowns of his own. I don't know if they credited him with it. He dropped Makhachev. He got on top of him. He beat him up. And that was Volkanovski. Now we've got a guy who's bigger. Islam's going up in weight. Islam looks huge. He's probably on all the gear you could possibly be on. He's on a lot of shit. And I mean, it's not a mystery that this guy's definitely on some shit, okay? Look at the size difference. It's not just from a weight cut. But either way, let's say he's clean and this is just how big he is. Then he shouldn't have made lightweight as easy as he did for his entire career if he was that big before he jumped up to 170. It doesn't even look like the same person. I think that Jack has been fighting guys to get him ready for Islam much more than Islam has fought guys that are going to get him ready for JDM, if that makes sense. I think JDM has fought the likes of Gilbert Burns, who, yes, I know Islam is better, but I think Gilbert Burns has really good jiu-jitsu. He fought Belal. Belal has really good wrestling. Even if Belal didn't use or implement the wrestling in the fight, he was preparing for a really solid wrestler with good takedowns, good top pressure, ability to control you on the mat. And yes, I think Islam is better, but you have the jiu-jitsu of Burns preparing for that. Great jiu-jitsu. You have the wrestling of Belal. That's a wrestling-heavy camp, at least that you're getting ready for. You're working with Craig Jones, who also worked with Alexander Volkanovski when he was getting ready to fight Islam Makhachev. So I think JDM has had fights that are preparing him more for the style of Makhachev than Makhachev has had guys who have the power, speed, and accuracy of JDM in the striking. People are going to compare it to Dustin Poirier. I guess you could make a slight comparison, but Jack throws much cleaner combinations. He moves his feet much more than Poirier. He cuts angles better than Poirier. And he's able to kind of put things together in terms of an MMA sense better than Dustin Poirier, in my opinion. The angles, the shifts, the shifting stances between orthodox and southpaw. The only thing I am worried about really is the head kicks of Islam. I think that could be an issue for JDM because of the way he kind of backs up in a straight line sometimes after he's exchanging. Or as he's trying to avoid shots, he could kind of back up. I don't want him to back up and get hit with a straight shot or or a kick over the top and maybe get caught. The thing I really like about JDM is that he doesn't stand stationary, and he's never stationary in terms of inside the fight. He's always trying to throw fakes, feints, switch stances, move around. He's always giving you something to worry about. You're never really going to have a scenario where he's sitting there and just letting the opponent tee off on him and just waiting behind what the opponent does. He's the type of guy where, we've heard this before. I'm not worried about what they're doing. I'm worried about what I'm doing. And JDM is a guy where he can be down 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds. He's still going to fight like he's trying to win. And I think that's the biggest thing with Makhachev is he's so used to guys who will just cower behind his presence, who will cower behind his takedowns and his wrestling and his pressure. And he has them defeated after 1 round of grappling. I don't think you're going to get that from a guy like JDM, where, yes, Islam, he's moving up in weight. He's probably going to get takedowns. Like I already said, I'm not dumb. I expect him to get takedowns. But I think JDM's ability to kind of crouch down and meet his opponent with his high guard to block those takedowns, I think that's going to be something that Islam isn't used to. Because it's going to make it harder for him to penetrate on the takedowns. It's going to make it harder for him to set up the shots. And he's going to duck down, change levels, and meet the level change with the level change. And that's going to make it harder for Islam to get those takedowns. I think we're going to see Islam throw a few shots, throw a kick, try to back JDM up to the fence, and that's where the majority of the success from Makhachev is going to come. By pushing him past that black line, getting him on the fence, and trying to hold him and control him, trip out his legs, inside-outside trips, try to get him to give up his back so he can throw his hooks in. I think he's going to be prepared for the Darce, but he's going to have to watch out if Islam trips him to make sure he high guards and blocks as he's getting up so he doesn't leave his neck out there, because Islam will jump on the choke like that. I do think we're going to see submission attempts from Makhachev. I think we're going to see sweeps from JDM off of his back. I think we're going to get one of the highest level fights in MMA, and I think we're going to get a war between these two. And at the end of the day, when the dust settles, I think you're going to hear one thing. And still, your UFC welterweight champion of the world, Jack Della Maddalena. I'm going JDM. I think he's going to finish Islam Makhachev in one of the final 3 rounds. I expect Islam to get takedowns. I expect Islam to have some success on the feet, trying to catch JDM as he backs up in a straight line. But this guy has been getting prepared for grapplers. He's been getting prepared for wrestlers. He's been working on takedown defense. He's been working on awkward and weird get-ups off of his back. I think Islam is going to be really strong at 170. He looks huge, but I don't think he's going to be used to fighting with that big of a frame at 170. I think the forward pressure, the takedowns, the wrestling are going to work for about 2 rounds. But after that, if Jack's still here, that's when I think Jack is going to start to put it on him. I think he's going to meet him with the level change with the high guard. I think we're going to see a lot of touching up top and ripping uppercuts and hooks to the body. If you remember, Dustin Poirier had a lot of success going to the body of Islam Makhachev, which opened up strikes to the head. I think JDM is going to throw those combinations, and he's going to rip uppercuts and hooks, bolo shots to the body after Islam breaks off from a takedown. Bop, 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 bop. Meet the level change with the level change. Break off. Boom, boom, boom. Bam. Boom, 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 bam. And as he starts to work the body, the takedowns will become easier to defend. If he gets taken down, I think he'll be able to get back up. I do think he does leave his back exposed, which is something I'm worried about, where as he gets up, I don't want Islam to take his back, sink in the hooks, and try to get a choke. But I think JDM has the camp that's getting him ready for these exchanges in the scrambles, in the get-ups, in the transitions, in the reversals. And I think Islam is not going to be used to fighting at this weight. He's not going to be used to fighting at 170. And I think Jack is going to try to win this fight from the first minute until the last minute. No matter how many rounds he's down, no matter how many times he's been taken down, he's still always going to try to win. And I don't think Islam Makhachev is going to break a guy like JDM. These Dagestani fuckheads, they always just think they can impose their will and pace and pressure on people. When they can't do that, that's when it starts to fall fall apart. And I think JDM will take advantage of that. He's going to work the body. He's going to meet the takedowns with the level changes. He's going to be able to explode in some scrambles. He's going to rip those body shots. And I think eventually he's going to hurt him to the body, rip up top, and finish off Islam Makhachev and retain his welterweight title. I'm going Jack Della Maddalena. Give me JDM to win via round 4 TKO over Islam Makhachev. All right, that's it from my UFC 322 Maddalena versus Makhachev, JDM versus Makhachev preview, predictions, and breakdown. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and smash the notification bell for all future uploads. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out.